call this meeting to order for the September 30th
I'm taking that.
special meeting for the Holiday Island AMP Commission. We can start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Needs to work, I'll sit back.
Secretary, if you'll take the roll call.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Elwood.
Here.
Chairman Holland,
Here.
Vice Chair Lawler.
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Lodewijk here. Commissioner Plumley,
Here.
Commissioner Scroggins, excused absence. We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Moving on to the agenda. Any motion to approve the agenda, or
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
we have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to reports. We have no reports in the special meeting. So moving on to business, we'll go right into resolution R24-021, provide for the collection of taxes. This goes back to the requirement that we have for the 120 days from the forming of the commission to provide rules on collection and enforcement of the taxes. Any questions before we start going through it? On what its purpose is?
I think we talked about this one meeting, but if there's a short-term rental owner that does not pay the taxes, they're gonna be like a hearing right in this room, and we are the judges, is that correct? Am I saying that right?
There was a process made in the enforcement that we passed, the R24-020, that starts with notices and then proceeds on to hearings on it, and then actually turns into a civil matter, isn't it? That goes to a judge. So,
During that, I forgot about that, Bryce, do we have attorneys if the petitioner comes, a short-term rental owner, and has an attorney, do we have to go out and pay for an attorney, or we can go pro se, or what?
we do currently use the city's attorney. City's attorney does cover the
Where
committee.
does he or she live? He.
Pat, you may know.
I don't know where they live, no.
I don't, and I know he's over in Northwest Arkansas.
They'll charge their hourly rate to drive up here.
But we have a choice to get our own attorney too.
We do.
And we have, in the ordinance resolution, we have an opportunity to designate someone. So after it passes, then we can decide who we're going to
Yeah.
use.
I think it's important that we get somebody from Carroll County, because they pay for, if we have somebody in Springvale, Fayetteville, we pay $250 or whatever their hourly rate is for them to drive up here.
I think it might not be a bad idea to look at somebody at some point and trying to figure out the enforcement side of this.
We can get a name, but I'll be honest with you, if somebody's before us in hearing for a breach of our rules, I don't know why we need an attorney. I mean, this is what I did for a living. I went to mediations all the time. I don't give a damn if they have 3 attorneys.
Yeah.
Because I knew why I was there and what we needed, and, you know, if they want to appeal it, then we have to get an attorney. But it's pretty simple.
Very straightforward.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a bridge we can cross when we get to the river, so.
Yeah.
Right. All right, go ahead.
What do y'all want to do? Y'all want to read this and go through line by
Can I
line?
make a motion that we approve this resolution by reading the title only?
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
No,
I
I've
can't?
got
I have an
I've got
amendment.
issue.
Oh,
I've
it's
got
got
an
an issue that we can't.
So then let's do that. Let's go through each section then of this, and we'll get to your section and everybody else's. We'll do it that way.
Just type that.
Let's read into the record
Same one
the
as
title,
I did, Chair.
the title first, and then we'll go down. I think I would suggest that.
Yeah, Secretary, if you want to read the title of this, and then we'll go through each section of it.
Okay, resolution HIAPC R24-21. A resolution to provide for the collection of taxes levied by the city upon the gross receipts or gross proceeds derived from renting, leasing, or otherwise furnishing motel, hotel, or short-term condominium rental accommodations for sleeping, meeting, or party room facilities for profit in the city, and prescribing other matters pertaining thereto.
All right, anybody have any questions actually in that title If not, we'll move on down to section 1. Any questions or comments? Moving on to section 2. Questions or comments? Section 3.
No, are these, none of us around the table are lawyers, but these are all legal sites from the Arkansas Code,
Right.
ACA, so on, that give us the right to do this, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
We try to quote out as many of these state statutes as we can. It saves on writing, and it is fully understood what the point is in those.
And is this similar to other cities that have the same sites to the law?
It is. We did see other references of it there.
Okay.
Moving on to section 3. Section 4.
Yes.
Okay.
3B. 3B, it says if a taxpayer fails to remit the A&B tax by the delinquency date, penalties will be applied in accordance with section 4. That should be in accordance with section 5.
It is. Good catch that one.
You are right.
Section 5. Any other questions in section 4? Moving on to section 5.
I think we need some amendment in section 5 so that it would read actually like the text reads. For example, in section 5, item 2, it's written here an additional 5% penalty for each month not to exceed 35% total. And the law actually says the penalty is equal to 5% of the unpaid tax amount per month, not to exceed a total assessment of 35% of the unpaid tax. I'd like it to read that. And number 3, it's written here is interest will accrue at the rate of 10% per annum starting from the delinquency date. I think it should read what the law says, simple interest on unpaid tax shall be assessed at the rate of 10% per annum. That way we're tying perfectly with what the law said rather than shortening it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
you're
I
right.
agree.
Are you suggesting cross out from?
I'm
the
suggesting 2 and 3 be amended to what's in the code that I just read.
So you're reading from the state
I'm reading
statute,
from the
right?
state statute.
What is the difference in one versus what we have here and what's in the state statute?
The state statute said, assess penalties and interest against taxpayers who fail timely report or pay levy under. It doesn't give any dollar amount or percentage.
But you're
Okay.
adding of unpaid tax, correct?
So 1 is pretty much taken from the beginning of
Yes.
A2
But
of
2
the 5%, and then it
three.
continues on. Okay.
Okay, let me understand this. Penalty of 5% for the first month, an additional 5% for each subsequent month, not to exceed 35% of total. So let's say I don't pay for 7 months, 7 times 5 in my easy math at 35%. What if I go 12 months and not pay? Then number 3 says interest will accrue. We're changing that. And how will it differ again? Peggy,
It's just a simple interest on unpaid tax shall be assessed at the rate of 10% per annum.
So if I already owe 35% for 7 months that I didn't pay,
Well,
that'll be another.
That's a different 35%.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's
The 35% is
of
a
what you
penalty.
owe, and then that
And then
whole
the
amount that
interest.
you owe is 10%
Yep.
per year.
There's a penalty percentage that's in there first, and then it starts the interest
there's
on the amount.
a,
So say you owe $100,
Yeah.
and even after the 5%, and then a total of 35, so that'd be 135, but then that 135 is 10% per year
Okay.
until paid. So it's a different,
No,
it doesn't,
okay.
it's a different thing.
One's a penalty and one's interest.
Okay. Let me ask Sharon, because she owns, and Mike too, but you're in Eureka Springs. Do they follow through with this kind of procedure for people that don't pay?
no, they don't follow through. I've already asked them.
They don't.
They don't follow through because it's too expensive for them to.
But,
But you
Okay.
have to have it in the
okay, if it's too
resolution.
expensive for Eureka, and they're getting about $2 million a year, how are we gonna do it with the 5, 6 of us here at the table?
We're
So
going,
the thing is though, that it's rarely not paid, because for the most part, they're using agencies for the meetings, and it's paid through the agencies,
Okay.
so it just doesn't.
And I think they get to a point where they don't have to enforce it because there are so many steps that come before having to enforce that later on. That amount may sit there, but that person's eventually going to try to correct the issue in place, because in those steps of enforcement, it even comes down to pulling the business license, going into lien. There's a lot of other steps that come into place that they're going to resolve the problem long before they have to get to the enforcement side of it.
And actually, it's not just the city, the state actually has a reporting of gross receipts that you have to do every month. And if you don't do that, then they send a letter, and then a nice letter, and then they send
Not so nice letter.
I know, because when my son left, there were 2 months that it wasn't paid, so I got the letters. Yeah.
The nice one
But
and
we
the
didn't
not
do
so
anything
nice
to
one.
the city.
So you all feel this is, what Peggy just read is appropriate for our size city?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's
the
the
law.
state law.
I could say
Or
it's a
the
state law, we
process.
don't really have a lot of discretion.
I think that, Russ just tried to simplify it, make it sound less legal, but I think, we all think it's important to have it exactly like the code.
Like I said, it's a number that sits in there that will eventually, I believe, most operators will come to the table to fix it before they run into many more problems of business closure, liens and everything else that come before actual enforcing of that number.
I tried to talk to Mike Maloney one day, but he wasn't in, and I wanted to get a little bit update on their program over there. Talked to the secretaries and had a good chat, but I'm trying to focus, and I don't know where else to bring this up, but okay, we've got 6 people around the table. We got Jill, who's the secretary of the city of Holiday Island, who is going to sort through all this stuff and find out if there are any. You said there are not many will not pay it. It's very rare to have some. But if, let's say we had 94 the other day, 94 short-term rentals, so maybe over 100 now. Let's say there's 100. Let's say there's 5 that aren't paying, a couple, 3 months in a row. Who is going to find that out among this group? Or tell me about that. It's
We
really
have an
important.
opportunity to designate someone else. We do not use the city. The
No, I knew
A&P
that we wouldn't
commission
do that. Yeah.
is separate. We have an opportunity, once that happens, after a couple months, we decide who's going to do it. It can be hired for an accounting person, and then we are the overseers of it.
I think we will get some type of distribution report once the month's over to see how many accounts were paid, what that amount was. I mean, we'll get obviously the financial details, but we'll also get some type of report. And I think it's probably gonna follow some type of CPA person to collect it.
And their
Enter the
fee
data.
would come out of what we collect.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know the answers to these things, because when it passes November 5th, by March, we have to have this well in mind.
Yep, and that's something that I think we're gonna see a lot of come late December, early January, because there's a time frame in there that we have to have everything done to send out notices to the businesses to be prepared for the actual tax collection.
But that's why we've been meeting so often, to get
Yep.
all this stuff in place, so we can go spin off from that as soon as it's passed.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments about section 5? Moving on to section 6. Section 7?
Hold on.
Got some dates in there that need to be changed.
There are
25.
25. We're in the wrong year, huh?
Oh, gosh, I read right through that.
I-
They typed right through it.
I sure did.
I'm sitting there, what's he talking about? Yeah, this
You
is
got that
24.
last time too.
25, I did do it last time,
You
didn't
get
I?
old and time passes, I'm still living in 1922, probably, 2022, I mean.
That's the forward thinking.
Wow.
All right, any other 7?
Before we get to the last one, any comment, Bryce, on the public? We have one public member here.
Well,
Anything?
no, I understand it.
Yeah.
Definitely have anything on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion on R 24-021?
I renew my motion
And your motion
As
was?
amended.
as amended,
As amended.
approve this resolution as amended
I second it.
by reading the title only, if we can, since we've already gone through the whole thing.
I second it.
We have a first and a second. Secretary, do you want to read the title and then take a roll call vote?
Okay, Resolution HIAPC R 24-021, a resolution to provide for the collection of taxes levied by the city upon the gross receipts or gross proceeds derived from renting, leasing, or otherwise furnishing hotel, motel, or short-term condominium rental accommodations for sleeping, meeting, or party room facilities for profit in the city, and prescribing other matters pertaining thereto.
Okay, before I take a roll, Mr. Chairman, could I ask, on several committees that I'm on, in order for something to be passed by the BOC or the city council or the quorum court, we have to declare it an emergency, otherwise we have to read it 3 times and pass it.
This is
We do
my-
not, in a resolution, we do not.
Only an ordinance.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Okay, roll call.
And there is a, just to answer your question too, there is a section 7 that this, resolution, has a delay, and, that's suspended until May 1.
The effective date is April 1st,
Yep,
but we're doing it today.
that's correct. We have to have it in
We have to
place
have it in
before the
place.
120 days that the, rules say that we have to have this in place. So we're putting in place, the cutoff for that is October the 3rd, so 3 days away from now, we'd have to have this done. So we're getting that in place and then delaying its enforcement and collection part until.
Okay, fine.
All right, you want to do the roll call? Vote.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Elwood,
Aye.
Chairman Holland,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lawler, aye. Secretary Treasurer Ludwig, aye. Commissioner Plumley,
Aye.
Commissioner Scroggins, excused absence. Unanimous, 3 of those are here.
All right, that one will pass, and we'll get that one set in place. That fulfills the enforcement and collection that we had for the 120-day timeframe. I'm sure we're gonna come back to it as we find other things, but we've at least fulfilled what the responsibility was to do. Moving on to the next item on business, which is discussion on collection form, which this has to do with also, and I'm sure this is gonna take a little bit of time, but, Lonnie, you put this together?
Yes.
I'm gonna let you take off with it and roll with what we're looking at, and, we'll go from there.
This pretty much came from Bill's, short-term collection thing, just kind of paraphrasing spots. As you tell AP, that permanent number, lets them know who's turning in the taxes, along with the name and the business and address. Down here where it says entered numbers, VRBO is Expedia, Hotels.com, Highwire, Orbitz, or eBookers. They're under the Expedia group, and they all kind of book through VRBO, Expedias and all that. Now, over there to the right, it says collected, that if VRBO pays the AP tax, or your state tax, whatever, that's what they would put in there. If it doesn't pay it, you'd have to write over there, include it in your website, which we'll come to in a minute. If they do pay it, you put 0 there. Same thing with Airbnb. Airbnb does not give an option for the company to collect the taxes. They only pay it. So automatically, they're gonna have to fill out the form, find the form on their website that shows how much they collected for that month. And the numbers you're looking at are actual numbers from Holiday Island Lodging for this past month. And I placed it in there. So over in 1B, it would be 0. Now the website would be Evolve, Bacasa, your personal website, and all that. And the reason Evolve and Bacasa is under there, they're a management company booking site combined. So you couldn't list them under the VRBOs or the Airbnbs. And you just move it over to the far right column there, whatever that total is. Same thing with meeting rooms, barn, pavilion, ballroom, campgrounds, etc. Whatever they collect for that month, they put in there. down in letter E there, taxable gross receipts, you just add all those together, you come up with your total. Letter F there, it's tax collected, you multiply that by 3%, you come up with that total. Discount, you take, and this one where it got confusing on me, I was putting the wrong word in there, but it's the 2% of the tax is paid by the 20th. In this example, it's as if we paid it by the 20th. I try to make this as simple as possible, because as a business owner that's gonna be filling out several of these forms every month, I want it simple.
Yeah.
And this, I believe this is simple and to the point.
Mike, how do we know how many units you are including, no matter who pays it, but how many units you have here on this form?
Well, on mine, you'll see 19 sheets of paper.
Each location has its own A&P permit, is the way the city
How do
ordinance.
we know, how do we know what the 19 properties
Well,
are?
This permit number.
This form will be filled out 19 times.
Yep.
So-
The permit number at the top, each location for a short-term rental will have a separate permit, so each number will be different.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, each number will be different. I just put one in there for the example there.
okay.
And we have a list of all of the short-term rentals so we can compare.
And
So
then
all of your properties together took in 25,214.16, and 3% of that is 786.43, and then you paid it by the 20th, so you got 1512 off, and the grand total that Holiday Island would get if we were in this game would be 741.30.
That's correct. And
And I think there was in
Actually,
mine, there's at least there's a blank, right, that should be writing, because
There's no penalty?
E.
I don't see the taxable gross
Yeah, I
receipts
just
in
didn't
E.
bring it down. That's all
Okay,
it is.
all
I
right.
didn't bring it down. After 6.5 hours to look into this, I didn't want to look at it much longer.
And Mike, do you have any, do you have a VRBO Airbnb do this, but then they send you these totals?
With the Airbnb, you can go on your hosting website and go under earnings, and it'll pull up what you made for that month.
Right.
So they would have, the customer would have to actually print that off and turn it in
Sure.
along with their ET1s.
Like if they rented 5 of your properties for, let's say, $200 a night for just one night, it's $1,000. Then they would deduct 3%, which is $30, and then they would tell you that on.
Airbnb would pay that 3% to Holiday Island, or the HIAPC. VRBO, being that we're set up to where they pay it to us, Holiday Island Lodging,
Yeah.
it would be our responsibility to pay that 3%.
So this 741.30 could come, if we were now next April 1st, let's just run it forward. That 741.30 could come from VRBO, Airbnb, your Plumley company website, and even meeting rooms and so forth, stuff like that, or we've got to ask.
That numbers would be actually higher coming for Holiday Island Lodging, because Airbnb pays that without us even seeing it.
Oh, okay,
We don't get a check
okay,
from Airbnb. We get, well, we do get a check, but it's after they take out their fees, the taxes, and so foreseeable AP tax. They take it out before they even send us our money,
okay,
and then they remit it under our AP number.
okay.
But VRBO does not, is that what you're saying?
VRBO gives you the option.
Okay. Like the lodge.
They give you the option to do that or not to do it.
So I guess let me ask this question. You tell me they have the option to or not. Is that just currently because of where we sit right now and kind of a untaxed location right now? Because I've seen contracts go to VRBO.
It's been like that for, as long as I know. My company just chose not to do it that way.
I'm wondering though, if regulation like this comes in place, if VRBO takes that away,
Right.
that they just simply redeem it for all the users and they change the process of what it is.
I think they still give the option, because they've had this contract for years, I'm assuming, and they still give that option.
Secretary, you have somebody in the AMP right now that you've gotten some of the info on the contracts,
Yeah,
right?
and they said something about they were going to enforce it with them, so it would be like Airbnb. they would send a
So it may
contract.
be an enforcement part that it may change it
That
at
may
that point
change.
for the
And
user.
if that does change, this form would have to be filled out as if they were all Airbnb, except for the personal website.
The only difference would be the separation. We'd still want VRBO and Airbnb amount separated because that tells us how much would those locations be paying at the time.
Checks.
And you'd still do go through the same process, go
Yeah.
through VRBO and get the earnings report for that month.
You'd
from
still get the
VRBO.
0 after
And
that.
you
if
put
that
the
was the
zero
case.
over there and the numbers could be added. That way, when it comes down to, if we have to audit anyone, we can add all these numbers up and go back and look and say, okay, yep, all right, that number's right.
Mr. Chair, I think we're really fortunate to have Mike and Sharon on this committee, and I'm asking her, is this something that looks familiar to your property over in Eureka Springs?
I don't do the paperwork, so
But,
I don't know.
so-
But I'm sure that my son did something very similar to that,
He
yes.
manages it, he takes care of it.
He did, yeah.
So you have the same thing, or he does, VRBO and
Yes,
Airbnb, and then
yes, yes,
you have
yes,
a
but our
website.
stuff is all done, our stuff, well, we do have some coming on the website right now.
Mm-hmm.
But the new manager has everything going through these so that we don't have to do that.
Okay. So this
He's
looks,
redone all of that.
even though you're not doing it, your son's doing it, this looks familiar and like it would work for us.
Yes, 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 because,
We're really lucky to have two people that are right in the field, you know?
You're
Otherwise,
actually lucky to have someone that doesn't sweep at night and do stuff like this.
I get you. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it took some 6.5 hours, 3 sets of eyes to go through this.
The only question I have is on C, we have website. Could we not put just other bookings in place of that, not necessarily list the website itself? And then in meeting rooms, you have the campground, which is technically a short-term rental as far as the stay lodging part, not a meeting room.
That was mainly for
Move it up to C.
the SID. But you can have meetings at the campgrounds.
But, well,
I mean,
Is
we're
it
gonna-
rentable?
Huh?
Is it rentable? Do they rent the campground? Like
yeah,
that?
You could.
Do they? Do they ever rent the pavilion at the campground?
Well,
I don't know,
I
I've
don't
never seen them
think,
do that.
I didn't know they had a pavilion at the campground.
We're having an A&P meeting at the pavilion, and Jill is looking at starting to rent it out for
I know, but-
a county fair.
But the pavilion's by the pickleball court, so everybody knows. The
Yeah,
campground
it
is
has a
down in Palm
pavilion
Circle.
also.
It has no pavilion down there.
Yes, sir, it does.
Yeah, it does.
You go
Yeah.
straight down the main
I've never
road,
known them to rent it.
and it's on the left.
But it, I mean, it is a possibility
Yeah,
to
it's
be
a
rented.
it should be, it could be more income for them.
I've never heard a fee even set for something like that. I thought it was just
Not
for the
yet.
people, you know, when you, I was in an RV, 2 of them for 5 years.
Yeah.
So I've traveled all over the country. I know most places have a gathering place. It's got a fireplace there. You can toast marshmallows or whatever you want at night. It's usually near the pool. But I don't know anybody other than the RV owners and campers that were using that facility.
Well, family reunions that I've been to, or my family, have been at campgrounds. So you just rent the campground for the day, pay your fee, move on
Yeah,
out.
but when you go in, it's $50, let's say, for an RV, because we have a pretty big one. That $50 should include, if I wanted 6 of my relatives from Green Bay to come over to the Green Bay campground.
Well, then you're paying-
That would include that,
Yeah,
and I just had to reserve it.
but let's go with, let's say family reunion wants to come rent the campground out for the day. You wanna charge them $50? You rented just the current campground, they're not renting a lot.
No, but let's say they had 5 spots, and 5 people come from all over. They have 5 places there. Let's say it's $50 a night.
Okay.
So that's $250 a night. They're gonna be paying 3% of that. Why should they have to pay for a little pavilion that's about the size of these tables?
Well, that's Heisen's issue, not our issue.
Well, and it
Well,
could, you could rent it out if you
If
didn't stay
Heisen
at the
wanted to rent it
campground.
out and charge, then.
We don't wanna rent it out because we don't want people that are not in the campgrounds coming in there to take up space that campground renters are paying for.
Okay,
They're in there for hot dogs and weenies and.
So then this would be,
and,
what you're implying to is the campground amount that they would pay is just for the rental parts of the.
Yeah, for your unit that you park with sewer and water, that's what it's for.
Okay, then we move that to websites or whatever. I just was thinking ahead, like if somebody wanted to actually have a get together after the campground's closed,
Right.
why couldn't they do it there?
Well, Danny had suggested we do something right before the campground opens and right before the campground closes. When
But
he
the
officially,
pavilion up at a pickleball course is large, it's got cables, it's got gas
Agreed.
fireplaces, it's got light, heat, electricity. I don't,
The
you know, I've been
camp-
down there quite often at campgrounds when I have my unit.
the pavilion has electricity.
I think we're starting to, we could kick people off here, including the HIAPC, be trying to get more money out of a facility that is a campground, and it's for RVs and tent campers, and the facilities that are down there, there's shower rooms and so forth, and it's pretty spartan, it's pretty bare, okay? It's not like Pebble Beach or something.
No,
So-
I've been there.
Well, I don't think we should even have that on any kind of a rental. I think we should talk to Danny Arnold, who runs the place down there, does an excellent job. He lives right there, right on in a house next to it. But
I'm missing the point. We're not asking them to rent it or not rent it.
No.
We're just saying if they rent it, it's a short-term rental, and if they don't rent it, that's fine with me.
And if you want us to move
I mean-
campground to website instead of under meeting rooms, that's fine.
It's the same 3%.
Yeah,
I mean, meeting rooms, et cetera, includes the farmhouse. If someone goes down to the farmhouse and rents the farmhouse out for the day to have a meeting there, the farmhouse would have to pay 3% A&P tax. It is a meeting room. I mean, I'm willing to move it on the website, that's fine with me.
Okay, if I rent a room over at Inn of the Ozarks, Best Western, and it's $300, and I have from 7 to 10, not the huge room, but let's say a room twice this size, and I want to have something in that room. Are you saying that Eureka HIAPC gets a fee of 3% out of that room?
yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
yes.
It's a short-term rental.
Yes. Now, if you rented that room for 31 days, no, they wouldn't get it.
Yep. That is true. It does cover all meeting rooms.
What I'm trying to say, folks, is that this is going to be hard. When you ask people about tax, and we're trying to, with our forms and everything, we're doing a good job of trying to say it's the other people that are paying it. You know, we got the nice signs out all over the place. But when you mention tax, it's going to be really hard.
The word
Really
tax
hard.
scares people.
Huh?
The word tax scares people.
Yeah, it does. So why don't we make it the least, what's the word, erroneous, or the least penalizing kind of thing, and let's forget about the little area with a tent over it or something at the campground of HIAPC.
No, but HIAPC's not renting that.
Yeah, it
I know,
would be
this
if
group is,
HIAPC.
but it's
No,
owned
we
by
don't
HIAPC.
make a decision for HIAPC. We're saying,
I'm on the board of commissioners.
Okay.
I can make a decision.
HICID's already paying taxes on their campground,
On the
it's
campground.
7%. You don't see it because it's included in the fee. You're not gonna see this either because it's included in the fee. And the more, even though maybe Unit 1 is making a little bit less money, with the promotions, Unit 1 is gonna be rented out multiple times, which means HICID's gonna get more money in the long run.
But Peggy, when it's included in, you're fooling the public. When it's $50 to rent this little tent thing down there, and we get 3% of that, you're not being honest with it.
are you charging $50 to rent that?
I don't
We're
know
not
if we're
charging-
charging
No,
anything,
they're
but
not.
this group is saying
We
we
don't,
should.
we
They're saying
can't
we should.
charge,
We haven't.
we can't charge for HIAPC stuff.
What did we just say? What did we just say? If you've got a campground down there, if you've got a camper, an RV, and you wanna rent this little thing, Mike brought it up, hot dogs, weenies.
We were
and-
talking about
You're- no, no,
the
you're-
the D section that says meeting rooms, and campgrounds was underneath that. And so I was questioning if the campground should come out of the quotes of the D column there saying meeting rooms, because I didn't
On
believe
the
it to be a
website.
meeting room. I believe it as being a short-term rental, a stay,
Yeah.
a sleep.
If you're
Okay.
renting the
If we have-
camper,
Okay, let me try to explain it, and then I'll drop it. If we have 15 sites down there, I don't know how many we have, but let's say they're all full, like they were at Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, okay? And it brings in, let's say $1,000, one night, 1,000, probably more than that. Okay, Danny's gonna report that next April 1st. Danny or us, we gotta find somebody to do this, us, gonna report it, and they're gonna turn in 3% for that.
Right.
Now, what you're saying is because they have this extra little space.
But they're not
No,
renting
no,
it.
let me finish.
Okay, go ahead,
Pat,
finish.
Let me finish, and then I'll drop it. Are you saying that the little area about the size of me to you and this table, we're gonna charge for that?
Not
No.
to the campers,
No, not to the
but if I
campers.
want to do it,
Nobody even knows it's down there hardly.
I understand
Right.
that's pretty what
But if somebody
advertising is
decides
supposed
to
to
do
do.
it, we need to have
But-
it.
but
I'm
it's-
saying the campground
And
in
he
general.
has a
And it's
comment.
not our issue anyway.
But we're
I
not
get-
charging anything.
Yeah.
HIAPC makes the decision. If they wanna let the campers go in there
Yeah,
for
we
free,
can't,
that's fine.
we
If
will.
they wanna let me go in there for free, that's fine. They don't have to pay 3% on
Right.
zero.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
I think
if
that
they
the-
use it as a rental room,
the-
we
the
don't
fine
make that
part of that.
decision. They make that decision.
If somebody rents something, you're gonna pay 3%.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Heisen decided
If
to
they
rent
don't
that,
rent it,
then you would
then
collect it.
there's
If
no-
you
I
chose
will
not
bring
to.
it up at our next meeting, and it will not be rented.
I don't think it's rented now.
No, I don't think it's rented out.
I don't think they've ever
But
rented
we
it.
brought it up that it would be if they.
No, we don't make that decision, and
Actually-
you do.
Actually, I think what is referenced here is the campground itself.
I know we have to pay that. I understand that from the
Yeah.
first meeting we had in this
Yeah.
room. Campground is, short-term rental.
Right,
Right.
right.
40
It's
spaces,
the
whatever.
placement of the word campground.
Yeah, the campground wording was on D line in that form.
I know
Saying
where it
meeting
is.
room.
I know
So I
we
thought it
talked
had to be
about it.
moved.
Yeah.
Okay,
Needs
so
some
we,
second
I think
movement.
we have a.
Yeah, Ben.
Are you getting at, if it's full, and then someone wants to rent the pavilion, you're taking up the space that the camper's already paid for? Right? I mean, is that kind of your point?
No,
Like,
no.
how can we rent this
We-
thing out if it's
we-
being used
you
by
can't-
people that are
You
paying
can't
for
put a
it?
camper in that pavilion. You
No, I
can't
understand,
put-
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, since they're in there and they paid to get in there, they have access to that pavilion just by paying to
Yeah.
get in there, right? As a camper? Let's
just
say
by-
it's
just
full,
by- Just by paying the rental fee for the
Yeah,
RV.
yeah.
that's it,
Right.
right,
But
right.
what
So
I'm
they have
hearing-
access to that pavilion.
Yeah.
But, and what you're worried about, it sounds like, is that if you had a deal just to rent the pavilion to a different group, now you're kicking out the people that already paid to have access to it.
Amen, thank you.
Right.
Thank you very
Right.
much.
And
That's
we're-
where you say no, it's full. That's where
Right.
I said would say,
Yeah.
no, it's booked, you can't have that.
But we don't have anything to do
The
with
HIAPC
that.
figures out, so.
Yeah, Heisen
Heisen
figures that
figures
out. It's just the talk of where this sits on the D column, that I didn't think it should be in the D column, because it's not a meeting room that I know of being Heisen.
Right, it's just a,
And so-
in a different category,
Wherever you
but
want.
I'd be mad as a camper.
Well,
that's
I mean,
not-
that's fine, but, I mean, I'm good with moving it.
No, I think D, right now, I think it's perfect, but you were talking about two pavilions, I think. The barn, okay, that's for sure. The pavilion down at, by the pickleball courts, that's a big one. The ballroom, okay, we get a lot of money on that, but we should, and we're not. And the campground for campers.
Okay.
But with the pavilion, you're looking at, and you said it well, there is not a pavilion at the campgrounds that could be rented, I don't think.
Okay,
I will
should we-
look into it.
Without interfering.
It's irrelevant. What?
So,
It's not irrelevant, Pat,
So are
because
we
they're saying they
making
would charge
No,
campgrounds
for it.
we can't charge anything for anything, Ken. We only
Do we
charge you
check,
the 3%
do we
if
just
you
change
rent
meeting
it.
or-
Yeah,
You're
you
not
just
renting
move
it.
it,
to the
but we
website.
don't charge anything.
Move.
Okay,
I'm
then
gonna bring that up.
3% of zero is zero.
It won't be able to be rented.
Well,
So we
that's
need
fine.
Okay.
to, we need to come up with a new term for C, which is right now website. We either list it as other or something else to include everything but the
The camp-
categorized VRBO or Airbnb.
okay,
You-
let's change it to other.
Okay,
We could do it to other,
and then move campground up there.
move campground up to it, which would include personal website bookings, Bob, Picasa, the campground, all of those. And then on
Okay.
D would be meeting rooms, that would be the barn, pavilion,
Yeah,
and
that sounds
ballroom, or any other meeting room that exists.
Island room.
Right.
Island room.
And we don't even have to list the actual rooms, because it's the places that are renting the meeting rooms themselves.
If you wanna get out of everything in parentheses, it doesn't matter, because this is a form for them to report on. This
Right.
has nothing to do.
It doesn't
with-
dictate what they
with-
do.
With what's a short-term rental is, or
Yeah.
what's being passed in November. That's just a form to report, so you can put anything you want in there, this is a reporting form.
Right.
This doesn't change, add, delete, or anything,
Right.
as
Yep.
far as what a short-term rental is.
It just come,
I mean, we can change D to high said.
That's what I think.
Well, just to meeting
I
rooms,
think-
it doesn't have,
I think it's important to list them all because someone might not know
Oh, I keep the parentheses, but yeah, whatever. Yeah.
And the small print is just a reminder.
Correct
Yeah, it's
spelling.
just, it makes it clear if somebody
Okay.
sits
Correct
down
spelling,
for a time to
Pavilion.
do it.
You
Pavilion
know,
is misspelled.
not L, 2 L's, only 1 L.
I can't give you the correct spelling, but I know it's not correct. I think
It's
P-A-V-I.
P-I-V-I-L.
And I know this is a form that we'll have to revisit multiple times over the next couple of months to get it all done before we have to send this out for people to fill out.
Okay.
And I guess we need to check on the VRBO side of this, on if we do the contract with them, like places are supposed to do, if they start collecting all the tax for everybody in that area and stop sending it to the user at that point in time.
I think, Mr. Chair, we should bring up, since I'm the representative from the Board of Commissioners in HIAPC, I think we should tell HIAPC or get from HIAPC what they would consider a room that's rented for a short-term rental. For instance, all of you have been in I was going to say crystal ball room. The crystal room, what's the one that you used to go through for the swimming pool? That building over there. They have 9 and 9 there, and they have
The island room?
Island. Yeah, I'm sorry, Island. Okay, that seats 24. It's got a kitchen there. It's got nice restrooms and so forth. Right now, with the expensive other building that they're going through for swimming, they no longer need that. So we would like to turn it back into a room that people can rent for cribbage and for chess and all that stuff. Bridge. They were wanting to rent it. So I don't know what the decision has been. There needs to be a little bit of cleaning up of it, maybe, if you will. But the volunteer group put in new tile, new walls, new wallpaper, and remodeled the place about 5 years ago. It's really nice. So then you've got 2 other rooms. Right now they're downstairs of the ballroom. One is room A, which is a large room, which is used for quilt clubs and cribbage and so forth and so on. That our district manager is wanting to put the pro shop downstairs, all the golf shirts, all the starter for golf and so forth. That is a plan that's being talked about. It hasn't been decided on yet. But if it wasn't put down there, and if it was like the last 20 or so years, if the Bridge Club is paying $25 a night there, are you as a A&P committee wanting 60 cents out of that for that room?
They would. The law doesn't have any exemptions for any usage that falls in line with its.
But then we're gonna get up on October 17th and say, you all are not paying any tax here, aren't
They aren't.
So I don't think that that's the quote that we're using in this.
we? Well, I know, but
The
we're-
majority of the tax is paid by tourism. There are some rooms that people do rent that would have the tax on it. As I understand right now, HIAPC includes taxes with the prices, and so they wouldn't see it, and that's up to HIAPC to decide how they collect that. But the law doesn't have any exemptions for anybody. Doesn't matter if you're here or you travel here, or it's no different if I rented an Airbnb. There's no exemption for me being here and renting an Airbnb. I would still have to pay the tax. That includes in the meeting rooms and everything else. There's just no exemption for the tax. There's no way to keep up with who can and who can't pay the tax. It's just very clear on all activities of that would be there.
Well, I'll give you an example of why this is gonna come back to bite us. And that's the lawsuit that we're involved in right now, HIAPC versus 9 people, and the one that happened in 2012. And I've been a Board of Commissioner member on both of those. And it's coming out in social media of what you just said, Bryce, of new taxes. We're getting taxed again. The city's doing this, the city's doing that, EMP. So I'm telling you, it's really hard to refute. I'm agreeing with you all. I know what you're saying, but I'm telling you that it's hard to turn negative stuff into positive and get them down to vote yes.
I think the best calculation for this is that when we did the review on the actual collection amount, we targeted $150,000 was the part that was going to be collected. After reviewing HIAPC's financials for the meeting rooms where they would actually collect the 3% tax for the whole year, I believe HIAPC would have only paid like $900 of that $150,000. So I can fairly say that tourism is the main drawing of the tax, and whether some of us pay that by renting an Airbnb or renting a meeting room at the SID, we're still a minor fraction of the collection basis of the A&P tax.
Okay.
And it is small, it does exist, and we covered some of that to see if it would involve that part. We did keep out the food so that it did not affect the majority of the local citizens, and left it with just a short-term rental, but the short-term rental does have the overall part of meeting rooms and party room facilities, which includes the part that the SID has and that some of us do rent and use.
Well, Peggy, you and Bryce are very good about coming to the Board of Commissioners meetings, and we have only one guest tonight in this meeting, but those meeting rooms it's a big public deal right now, those meeting rooms, and going over to some other use, i.e. golf, four-letter word, okay? So when we turn it over to a pro shop, they go away. There's no more all these things that I just brought up. They're going to be moved possibly to another room that's nearby. It's not as large and so forth. So I'm telling you what I know from being on a BOC and what I am, and you're there every meeting, so you know, it's not a done deal, and it's causing quite a bit of angst in the community, and I've been getting calls. So I guess the mayor wanted somebody from the BOC on the committee, and that's me, and so I'm trying to bring up what I'm concerned about. And I understand where you're coming from.
There was some misconception, I read also in the whole deal, that there was some misconception that people thought that it would be 3% on everything that they did. 3% on playing golf, 3% on boat rentals, 3%, and that's not what the case is. It is down just to the meeting room, so there was some early confusion on what item would actually be taxed or what activity would be taxed. And it is just the meeting
marina was
rentals.
mentioned early on, and that's not true. That's
Yeah.
not correct.
That's correct. And so it is only on the meeting rooms that are there, which is a small percentage of the total amount that's collected or targeted, or as far as being rented out by ICID. Like I said, that I wanted to find out what that percentage was, and it's quite low.
I'm hoping it goes up, Bryce, because there's talk about trying to hire an event coordinator, i.e. weddings. That's a beautiful building. It can be. The kitchen was just cleaned at $1,000 cost. We can really, with parking, about 85 cars, 90 cars up there. Nothing's like that over in Eureka. Nothing. The Crescent is even small for parking. So I don't know what we've got a work session the third Monday and a meeting the fourth Monday, but we're trying to have the district manager pursue that.
Well, you would hope that the advertising coming out of A&P would encourage tourists and everything else to come here to see what is here and see the ballroom, see the things, come back and want to rent that. If you do increase revenue and the amount that you pay to the A&P tax, then it's doing its job. Right? It's mostly those people will be paying the majority of it. I don't think the local population here is going to be paying a very big percentage of the total collected A&P tax.
Okay, thank you. That's all I think.
Is there a way to offset it? With HIAPC, is there a way to offset that? And I know there's no exceptions or whatever to it, but could HIAPC just take the blow for it if it's so small and not mess with the citizens?
I think there is, but I can't speak to that, because
Well,
we're the A&P.
they're doing that
They have
now.
to figure that out.
And by
Well-
having, even if they're making, 30 cents less, okay, when you have more people coming in, they're gonna be renting it 3-4 times as much. So they're not
I
gonna
see.
even see
Yeah.
that they lost 30 cents on that particular transaction.
It is a user tax, and so the user does pay that. Whether the retailer wants to include that in the total price
That's what I'm getting
or add it on
Yeah.
top of it, that's totally the retailer's
Don't
decision.
add it and mess with the citizens and just.
They
do
are.
it.
They're not adding it right now.
I know, that's.
We've been getting $500 for the ballroom, and some of the wedding planners say, "Are you kidding me? It should be at least 1,000." not
It's
3%.
2,600 was
Yeah.
the quote that I was given.
But it should be a lot more, because some of the brides say, I don't know if we want to go to a cheap place like that. Well, they haven't ever seen the place, but at any rate, it's in it, it is included. So if it's 1,096% would be $60. HIAPC would be, $940 would be the money to go into HIAPC and $60 would go into this AP.
And most of those would be, you believe that most of those people would be people that don't live here?
What we're hoping, yes,
Yeah.
just attract them from five-state area, just like they come to Eureka, but they come here instead.
I think that's a perfect example of
That's it.
the outside people paying the A&P tax to the part. I know we're gonna have some of those small groups of, if you rent the barn, or I rent the barn, or anybody else, we're gonna have that, or I from rent an Airbnb from Plumlee.
Yeah.
We're gonna have that, but that collection amount is
Minute.
minute compared to the rest of it, and a fraction of the total.
Let me tell you,
Probably
I
count on-
had 2 daughters and I paid for 2 weddings, another $60 or $80. That doesn't mean jack. I mean, that ain't nothing.
And I can probably count on one hand how many locals have rented from me in 3 years.
Right.
See, so, it's like Bryce said, it's such a small percentage would come from all that. And like you, I got several phone calls over the weekend asking about this. And I explained to them, this is a user's tax. And I use the example of smoking. I smoke, you don't. I pay a higher tax, you don't. I use that product. So why should you have to pay for it? This is the same example. If you don't pay that tax, unless you use it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, there's this, well, I don't even know if I should bring this up, but I'm going to. I might as well just upset everybody right now. There is a way that HIAPC could get around, I think, with some of those smaller rooms, and they could say, we're not charging residents except for a cleaning cost. So they're not renting it for profit, and there you go. But that's HIAPC's decision.
Well, they still have to pay.
No, not if they're just saying a clean cost, we're not renting the room.
Well,
That's an interpretation. We don't need
Yep.
to
Then
decide it.
this number here is wrong, because I have to pay taxes on the cleaning fee.
You know what, now that you said that, I didn't look at it, I will tell you
But
that
you're
it is
charging the
there.
whole thing.
It is.
I have to pay taxes
I know,
on
and
the
they're
cleaning
just
fee.
charging for.
So they would have to back it off that cleaning fee. Granted, it would only be 3 pennies or whatever, but it wouldn't be much.
And
Well,
you know,
whatever.
your comment about a higher rate for weddings,
Yeah.
for the ballroom, I think that's accurate because, when I got a new manager, the first thing he said is, you are not charging enough money
No,
for those rooms, and if you charge more, you're gonna get better people.
Yeah. They appreciate the value, or they think the value is greater.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
We'll just,
Okay.
thank you, Bruce.
it was just a discussion on the collection form. I'm sure we're gonna revisit this multiple times, because we need to find out some more information, especially on the VRBO thing, to see what happens with that. And some of this, unfortunately, both VRBO and Airbnb will not talk to us or have any communication really with us on the contract until the tax passes. So until November, we don't have a representative yet to deal with those 2 locations, so.
Let me see if I can make some phone calls with some of the other management companies, and see if I can get a copy of the contract from them.
We do have copies of the contracts, we do have that.
For
As far as the representative will not have any discussion about taxes until it passes. So November, we could finally start some of that discussion to find out what's there. So there is a question about it. I don't think, this is not something we're gonna get done tonight. We're not probably gonna get it done next meeting, but reviewing it kind of went along with the collection of taxes deal. And at least review it once. Moving on to the next item of business, discussion on advertising online and print. Secretary, do you want to bring us up to date of what we've done so far that we put in place?
After we had a discussion with HIAPC, it was determined that the A&P would use 1/3 of a funding guide out of the A&P. HIAPC would use 2/3, at which point that would help them reduce their costs. So this was the first one, and this here is the second month, where you see 1/3 is HIAPC, or 2/3 HIAPC and 1/3 is A&P, where we're promoting the short-term rentals and other things. So these are what it looks like. This was costing us $522 a month guarantee 9 months, you have to do 9 months. That rate's kind of going up to 900 for a month times 9 months. Okay, that was the fun guide, and most of the people that I spoke with said they saw an improvement with the fun guide, and this has been historical usage from HIAPC. The Eureka Springs Visitor Guide, HIAPC always had a full color page. Last year, I was able to get the city, literally the city, to pay for a quarter. The bottom was individual businesses that agreed, and then when one of the businesses backed up, the chamber paid for a discussion on this one. So that's, and according to the customers, they didn't really get much out of the Eureka Springs Visitor. But we've gotten a request, if we want to, again, for this year, we have to make the decision by December 31st relating to the Visitor's Guide, the Eureka Springs Visitors Guide.
So this is the September one, there's an October one coming out.
Yeah, and
Right.
that's that extra piece of paper that Ken has.
Okay.
That's the markup of that.
What the previous October was.
Right. Now, the chamber did a great job, I think, with boosting, except that twice our credit card was hacked. We're doing the boosting on Facebook.
Oh,
So we got an awful lot of results, but you have the issue of getting hacked.
I see.
So I guess, you wanted to discuss advertising online or in print?
Yeah, and also the online part. We had talked about doing this, but with the holdup in record retention in social media that we ran into, delayed this because it was going along with the barbecue deal, and that event has passed. We currently don't have any event on the books right now that we have grant money out to
Right.
at this point in time. It's kind of just a discussion update on what do we want to do. I'd hoped that we'd had some online marketing for that stuff at the time,
But we didn't have.
and we didn't have the record retention to get it, so we don't have any records of examples of that being used and done. We do have some in print now, that's a plus. But Secretary, we do have a budget for this, right?
Yes,
We have additional funds to
continue with the fun guide.
continue with something with the fun guide or do some online advertising. We have a budget to do something with. I guess since this is a discussion, we can cover it in the regular meeting in October of what we want to do, but anybody have any ideas on what we can do
With or without an event?
Right.
with or without an event? Because right now we are without an event to
Gotcha.
kind of advertise around, but I think it would be useful to have something out there to show examples of what
When
is
would it
going
go
to
out?
come.
When would it start rolling out?
Well, the next issue is December, January.
Okay.
Okay, November, December, then January, February,
And it
and then we
goes on.
goes every month after that. We have 9 issues. for
Right, but we're
the Fun
talking
Guide.
about creating some for the next issue.
I think most of that, if we were wanting to create something that was gonna go quick, it would probably be online advertising and
Right.
not print, because delay times in the
I got
print
you.
is so
Right.
far out. So if we want to get something in October, it's probably going to be in the online sector.
Well, October
Well,
is
then
this
that
one
means-
here, so it's
This
November. It's November, and there's not much activity here in November
Yeah.
or December.
Yeah, I think, maybe something towards the whole holiday thing.
That's what I was
That is becoming a trend. I've got mine, Thanksgiving's booked for 10 days. I've got 2 families coming, one of them staying at Table Rock Landing. I mean, that's just me, but it's become a thing, what I'm seeing all around the country at Airbnbs. People are going to do that instead of being at home. They don't have to clean up after their house is a mess. I mean, it's just a myriad of reasons I'm hearing about it, but maybe something towards getting people for the holidays in Holiday Island.
Well, we've got the lighting the tree lighting.
Oh, there you go, okay.
And, I mean, it's not much, but, you know, it's something. And we have the Holiday Inn Singers do a concert.
That's true.
So we do have things that are happening, and if we talk them up, you know, that's, or if we just go, oh, well, that's not very much, well, you know, what are we selling? Or we go, oh, yeah, we have a lighting, you know, we light the lights in the park, and then we have
We can advertise
cookies
the
and
singing.
hot chocolate afterwards, and a little sing-along, and, yeah, I mean, we have stuff. It's just, you know, we have to go, yeah, we have stuff, we do have stuff. Nobody goes to it, but we have stuff,
Right.
you know?
I guess overall, as you noticed, is the print or the digital better? Because we also have choices of billboards or new signage, similar to the one like on 187 that comes in, but we'd have to get permission for the city of Eureka to actually put a billboard. So instead of people turning around at that one spot thinking there's nothing, to realize that there is a marina and
Yeah,
golf
right.
course and that
A little
type
bit more
of stuff.
directive,
That's
yeah.
where we need to put it, at the turnaround.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
don't stop here.
right.
We got Williams' old body shop there on the left,
Yeah.
and they're looking, I believe they're advertising for someone to take that sign out. And the coffee shop used to have a billboard up there.
Well, and the Chamber's getting a billboard. You saw some that are being erected at American Legion. Okay, well, one of those coming north is going to be the Chamber and the Visitor Center. And they also said they'd be willing, to sell some of the other locations.
Peggy, are you saying that for the fun guide, we have to dedicate or come up with a decision about 9 times $500 a month or $900?
It's $900 a month times 9.
It comes out 9 times?
Yeah,
For
it comes
25?
out 9 times
For
for
25.
25. Yeah.
So we're looking at $8,100?
Mhm.
That's more than we have in the budget, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but it won't be till after the election.
Well,
Oh,
you'd start it in February or whatever, January.
February.
Yeah.
So it's a future option then to have, I guess, is there anything that we can do immediately in the budget that we have right
We
now?
can still do boosting of things, and advertise. We still have 2 months. We have September, October, and we have a November issue yet, which is
How about,
still doing.
how about doing what you said? I think that's a good idea of pushing family gatherings and so forth. November,
This is
December.
from an STR standpoint.
Well, that's,
Yeah, but yeah, I think so. I mean, the digital stuff, in my opinion, is for outside people to come here. The print is for people that are here to
Yeah.
realize what's going on and traveling through or whatever.
And the online part is, from what I can tell from past history of HIAPC and everything else, even the SID, I think all of it was in print. I don't
Yeah.
think there was anything digital that has
when
been
the
done.
chamber did the digital, we got 131, fishermen, we usually didn't have 90,
So it
and
is.
we got 215 for
It has to
dinner,
happen.
it wasn't, so the digital helped also when I started doing with the ribs and rods, because we got 5 states. You know,
Print doesn't have algorithms,
It
digital
doesn't.
does.
you know, and I really would like if you could do an QR code so that we could
I
put
can
it
absolutely, I
in
can
here.
do any QR code you want me to do.
What we don't really have, when we have our website where we could have them point
Correct.
to something.
That's it, yeah, right.
You know,
People use mine all the time on a golf cart, and it tells me right when they click on it.
yeah, and that's what we need for get some statistics, which ads work
That's-
better,
That's right. That's exactly right.
you know.
Yeah.
But, people coming in and locals will look at the fun guide. As I
Yeah.
said, the visitor's
Sure,
guide,
sure.
it's hard not to be in the visitor's guide
Right.
because it's all year long
Mm-hmm.
and people pick it up, but
I agree.
maybe the information wasn't as good.
Yeah.
As I said, this was the HIAPC.
Was the boosting, where was boosting done?
On the Chamber Facebook and targeting fishermen, fishing or
In the
Chile.
area or different, what areas?
5 states, 6 states,
Okay.
and it was targeting rib cook-off, competition, photograph, we had a contest, photograph contest.
That's 5 or 6 states, that's good.
Yeah, and cars, we targeted those in 5 different states.
That's good.
And we've got people from 5 different states, and that's really, with 353 people coming in for the ribs and rides, 50% of them no one's ever seen.
Right.
So we know
Yeah.
that that's bringing in the visitors. When they get here, they're looking for something, that's when the fun guide comes in handy.
So your comment about families. Spend your holidays in Holiday Island.
That's what I was getting at, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I can't, well, yeah, that should be done.
Well, and that should be
Spend
done
your holidays in Holiday
I
Island.
would say
on social media because you wanna bring them here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I've already been advertising that, that's why I got clicks on my stuff.
Yeah.
Spend your Thanksgiving
Yeah.
holiday in Holiday
And,
Island.
yeah, walk in the,
And
walk
they've already
in
been
the
doing it.
forest and
Well, and we couldn't do
enjoying
it,
the peaceful, get away from the hectic and enjoy
All
the
of it.
peaceful.
we can't
Come
do
breathe
it
the
until
quiet.
we get our Facebook.
We do have the Facebook, we do have Facebook, we had everything in place,
Then
we just
yeah,
couldn't
we can
operate
use
and
it.
use it until we passed the part
Yeah.
of the retention policy.
And now we're past, right?
Now we're
That's correct.
past, now we can boast.
So we can finally do stuff on it. So,
Okay,
alright, and we'll just get some stuff together for the regular meeting coming up next
Okay.
week, and
okay.
we'll just look at it at a point in time. Moving on, commissioner comments. Anybody have anything new?
I think I've already talked to Peggy, we got the October 17th thing straightened out, so we're good to go.
Mhm.
Do you need anything else? We've got a new sound system that we put in the barn, so we don't need the portable one. And I'll have some chairs set up because we have an activity.
That is the haunted, that's going in our October fun guide. We are advertising the
Yeah.
haunted hayride.
That's the next day, so
Come.
What's our next meeting? This week?
October
7th.
1st at 6 o'clock.
So what?
October 1st,
Seven.
Monday,
Seven.
October
7th at
7th.
6 o'clock.
No, 7th.
Yep.
October 1st is tomorrow,
October 7th at 6 o'clock,
I hope.
yeah. We're not in scheduling yet, so.
No. Any other commissioner comments? Public comments? A lot of people.
I've already made them.
You already made them.
Sorry.
There are no online comments either.
Public, that's not plural.
Okay,
Scheduling,
I have a comment, a
Sure.
question.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a question. How long do the terms run for our 6 members?
I had that somewhere. I don't have it right
terms
here.
for the commissioners?
Yeah, I can let you know. we have it, I just don't have
Are
it
they all
with
the
me.
same?
No,
No,
no.
they are spread apart. There are some that are 1 year, 2 year, 3 year.
And 4 year. And I'll be happy to get that to you when I get
I
back.
think mine was 1 year.
I don't wanna say.
I think mine's 3, because I'm married to
I know I'm 4.
Bryce, I think you're at 4.
Yeah, Bryce and I are 4.
Okay.
And the city, it's really up to the
Yeah.
mayor to determine who the city representatives
Mine's
are.
up in December, so.
You know, what was
I think you're correct. I think you are 1 year, the city council members
Well, I have to
are
be-
not
yeah,
in fifth
We
term.
have to be a city council member.
Yeah,
so-
you gotta be a city council member, so they don't really have a term for that. I think yours was 1.
I think his was 2, if yours is 3, and ours was 4.
I think.
I believe so. I'll double check and I'll email you a list of all of them.
Okay, you want me to talk about scheduling? I'll get it right this time.
Scheduling,
Okay, October 7th
That's
is our regular meeting at 6 PM. Okay, we have 4 public meetings, and that's this, here, everybody can have one.
you have multiples? Or this is just one of the meetings, right?
Yeah,
This
but
is
on
not
the
all-
bottom, it tells you
Oh, it does tell us at the
all
bottom.
the other meetings. I'll find it.
This is around.
Poor paper, keep open.
Yeah, I know.
I've got it on the spreadsheet, unless we changed one.
Well, the only thing, yeah, we did have to change because HIAPC has a nomination on October 21st, so we had to move ours back to October 28th. It's the same Monday. And then the campground asked us to come down to the pavilion so that those folks from Unit 1 and 2 would hear about this. So,
The October 7th is the next regular meeting, right?
October 7th, and then the first open meeting is October 17th at the barn at 6 PM.
I'll almost wish we could switch those. It might be cold on October 29th. It might be, it might not be.
Just
Okay.
spill your plastic.
No, I mean, cause that pavilion at the campground is pretty exposed.
Just spill your plastic.
Well, he said he's closing, so all the campers will be gone, and he wants us to use the
Oh, I know.
pavilion.
No, I know, October 19th, 29th is, who knows?
Yeah, it could be snow on the ground.
That one may become dependent on weather at that point.
Or it might be 75 degrees, I mean, it could be either
That
one of
too.
those things. We know Arkansas,
You might be praying for snow on the ground.
Okay.
All right.
any kind of moisture right now, it would take.
Yes,
Have this one?
yes.
Yeah, those are yours.
Moving on from scheduling, there's nothing new to schedule at this point. Announcements. Commissioner Elwood, you have an announcement, right, on the event coming up? In
Oh,
October?
unless you wanna make the announcement that October 18th, we've got a HIAPC ride, which is gonna come off, we hope, from 5 to 9 at the parking lot below HIAPC. And I think we've got everything, I hope we've got everything scheduled to go.
Okay. Are there any other announcements that you have?
I move that we adjourn.
We have a motion
I'll second it.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
All right.
Oh, ouch, get up, knees.